I turned my space into a magical Winx-inspired world, complete with a scavenger hunt where guests could earn their charmix at the end. So I've always loved the original Winx Club atmosphere of the series. For this party, I mainly focused on season 2 because I love the magical locations and the adventure feeling from that season, and I really incorporated that storyline into my scavenger hunt. I started by sketching out my ideas, trying to make the whole space feel immersive while designing it around the scavenger hunt. Cloud Tower, which is where the witches live. I have a sideboard here, which I covered in fabric with some candles, books, decorations, and I decided to do a little part of the castle, but in a very abstract way. I wanted a little tower that would hold the codex. Then for the atmosphere, I added the teeth at the entrance, and I also made a storm cloud. Now in Downland, and Downland, I just made a little section. I made some crystals out of cardboard and painted them blue. I had Amentia and sponsors printed out, and I had a little riddle with crystals. The Cast Fortress, I took a box and I found some pictures online that fit with the castle theme. I had a cage that I made where all my pixies were trapped. And then I had a little hidden twisty mechanism here where it's like 2 pieces of cardboard on top of each other, and you turn the top one and there's a key underneath it. And then we continue to our universe and our giant red dragon. I focused on the planets of each fairy. Then I put magics as the central piece in gold. Moving on, we have the library, which was one of my favorite areas. I wanted to have the guardian fairies, the statues, and the butterfly reading stand. Obviously some books, maps, scrolls with like different creatures on them or artifacts. And yeah, that was the library idea. And then Red Fountain. I really struggled with Red Fountain at first because obviously for me the fairies were always more exciting, so I didn't really connect with the location as much. So I thought, let's go for a classic castle look. For me, what was more important, if you can see my ugly little dragon here, was the mechanisms, because I wanted some secret little chambers and like nooks where I could hide things for my scavenger hunt. So I put a pulley system where I had a dragon like figurine, and I attached a string to it, went through the cardboard to a window like all the other windows that were painted on, but this one actually pulled up and revealed a secret compartment with the codex copy for one group. And then I also did the flag at the top, and you could just pull on the flag and it came up, and there was my codex piece hidden. And then also, because it's in the same location where my Red Fountain castle was, I made a huge Winx Club sign in bright pink. And I used Christmas baubles, so hard to pronounce in English, to create the numbers, because then they looked really shiny and cool. I found that was one of my favorite parts. Took me a long time. I was so scared they were going to fall off when I was putting it upright. But it worked and it held. I only lost one, but that was my fault because I dropped it. So yeah. And then we have Althea. I had decided I wanted towers because for me Althea is like the outside, right? It's that castle, the bright pink, beautiful blue windows and the gate. I made the Althea castle gate out of cardboard, and I made 2 towers, and one of them had like a secret little door inside of one of the features here, which held the secret archive. And then we have the dark forest. I combined the dark forest in one room, but it contained different areas. I had a huge tree with the pixie village, which was my favorite part, I think, in the whole setup. I loved that tree. I planted the tree really, really big. I was like, I really wanted to be a centerpiece. I started actually my whole planning with this tree. That was the first thing I planned, and I was like, I need a huge tree. I made a construction out of scrap wood pieces, and then I stapled a lot of boxes onto that. I used chicken wire around it, and then I paper mache'd the whole thing. So I did the cave in the same way I did the tree, just without the wood. And then I did loads of corals, so it kind of looked like an underwater setting. The last part in that room was the water nymphs.